Before we start, a little disclaimer. We all have quite nice microphones, but unfortunately Boris's recording program decided that his laptop microphone looks a lot more attractive, meaning that while we heard each other quite nicely during the recording, his program unfortunately recorded low quality. We did our best to fix it, and still wish you a lot of fun with GARcast 3. We sincerely apologise. Welcome to GARcast. We are here to talk about all the manly and gar shows of this season, fall 2016. With me here, I have Alistair.
Hello.
We have Boris.
Hello.
And Tom.
G'day.
And so, we have quite a nice array of manly shows this season, which is very nice. So, we have the things we have picked out so far are All Out, Drifters, Tiger Mask W, and Yuri on Ice. And we're here to discuss them. So we go through these alphabetically, and we can start with All Out. Who wants to begin about our rugby series?
I suppose I can start if you want. I don't know if my enjoyment is skewed just because I like rugby quite a bit. The show sort of brought me back and made me watch a lot of rugby recently in the short sort of past couple of weeks. But the show itself is solid. It's got a pretty simple core message of, a lot of sports shows have, which is effort over, raw ability. Anyone can become good if they train. But it's got the rugby is really well portrayed. Like, it's quite a heavy game, like it is in real life, and it's got a variety of characters and sizes and positions, and like they obviously know, well, the author knew rugby as a sport because you could look at the different people and sort of look at the builds and be like, oh yeah, they would play here, or they'd pull this function in a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree there too. I'm not into rugby. I don't know much about it, but have always been interested sort of in it because also when I started at university, I saw a lot of flyers for my university's women rugby team who were apparently quite strong. And they had on their flyers written that they said, we need all builds and all sizes. So if you worry, don't worry, please come to us. And so I can affirm that notion that you need like different builds of people for this sport.
Yeah, no, I can relate to the main character. I think it's in episode 2 where they're designating roles and they put him on the wing. Because I'm not a tall person. I'm only about 5'7", and I used to play rugby, and wing was like the only position I could play. Swift and short is the best.
It's good because I'm quite the opposite. I'm pretty tall for a woman. Should we ever meet me, I'm like I think if my calculations were correct, I'm 5'9". So the series rang a lot to me with the very tall guy who is just like a bit too gentle but too big and sort of, yeah, you should play this. And I don't know. And this theme just rang with me, that it is to accidentally hurt things or to break things, because that has happened to me especially in my teenage years when I just shot up into height. That I could not control my powers quite that easily. It's something that you have to learn. So I never hurt a person, but I, in many occasions, broke things. So, and I still do that today, that I sometimes touch things a bit too softly, like closing drawers or something that they don't close all the way through, and they say, oh, I should push it a bit harder. Just so the tall guy in All Out was something that I could very much relate to.
I remember it was until about my last year of high school, college, whatever. I was relatively very short, and so I was then when it came to sports, probably a little bit too aggressive. And things like that is a bit of a point to prove. But now I'm well over 6 foot, and it's I don't know. I suppose I can sort of once again, relate to that gentle giant being a bit more careful with things.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with rugby. I think with my calculations are right, like 6'3". What position would I play? No idea.
Maybe be like a back, probably, but a centre back.
Yeah, that probably would be. That's about right.
I mean, I don't know anything about the sport. I will just rely on the usual sport anime trope of they will explain
everything.
It to, yeah. It seems like one of the more interesting ones since I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. Sorry.
That's all right. It definitely shows a lot of promise. Certainly in, I don't know if we can really call it action, but the in the sport itself, with like tackling and that kind of thing, it definitely shows a lot of intensity and power in the execution of certain parts of the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing when we actually get to proper games how everything plays out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed as well this raw power that you have in rugby is especially in the audio level in All Out. So there's just this gigantic like bang, boom, boomf when somebody gets tackled.
Just before I was going to say it's a little bit odd as well looking at the game because they've got their obviously in Japan they've got just sort of plain dirt turfs in the middle of the schools, and I'm used to very very large fields for
same
playing rugby. Just green.
I have to wonder about the soundtrack. I didn't hear a whole lot of it in the first episode. I hope they have some hype director when they finally start playing. That's usually a big sell in sports anime.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I actually noticed the soundtrack at all, so...
Yeah, same.
I just remember it being very emotional because like episode 1 was the sort of coming to terms with one's body size and having a lot of cherry petals flying and being emotional.
That's actually here at the moment. There's cherry blossoms blooming all down my street. Everything's just covered in them.
You live in an anime now, Tom.
Oh, yeah. That's actually really pretty. And it's a beautiful time of year at the moment. It's just a mess of the flowers.
I can't say the same about here, but...
Nope.
I'll try to get some pictures up, actually, in a couple of days.
No, All Out definitely shows some promise. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. I think it's going to be like 25 episodes, I think, right?
So it has already been confirmed as a 2-cour series.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of it. See how it goes.
And what I also wanted to point out was the character design of All Out, which is very unique. I haven't quite seen a style like that in recent years. I think the only thing that comes close to it would be Baki the Grappler.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Actually, yeah, now that you mention it.
There's one red-haired guy who looks like, what's his name? Yujiro Hanma.
Oh yeah, now that you mention it.
Also, what is up with his hair?
Yeah, the red guy's hair is really odd.
Looks like he's got like bits of gum stuck through it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe just wanted to have a cool streak in it and just turned out wrong. But it is like this in the manga as well, and it looks even more silly because of course red has to be painted black in manga because it's black and white, so it's just like black and white streaks just poking out of his hair. But nonetheless, it looks unique.
Oh wow, yeah, it does.
I've never seen something quite like it.
No, it certainly does create an interesting aesthetic, along with the look of the show as well itself. It stands out out from everything else that's sort of in a similar route to it, like other sports shows. And like sports shows these days are looking better and better, but they're never quite capturing that really unique aesthetic that other shows seem to be getting now. And this could be more of a change towards that, along with I have stuff to say on Tiger Mask when we get to that later on as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's definitely the most the best part of sports series. Definitely nowadays is the production value, because you can really drive emotion, intensity, and all that kind of stuff that you find in sports through the visuals and through the music and that kind of thing.
Yes.
So even if
especially,
even if you have maybe a weaker script or weaker characters, if you can make your more action-based scenes shine through, you've got a good solid series.
I want to point this out. If you look at older sports series, it doesn't carry a lot. For example, I was looking at Ice Shield 21 anime adaptation, and if you know the manga, it is drawn by Murata, who also did One Punch Man. And his art is just magnificent. It has so much strength behind it, and it does not carry at all into the anime, which is from 2005, I think. And I think if we would do this today with the material and resources we have today, it would look much, much better and would carry a lot better.
Yeah.
That's odd, because when I think of old sports shows, I think of Ashita no Joe.
Yeah.
That captures the manga style perfectly.
Dazaki does a really good job with that.
Yeah.
Capturing the art and the style. But then, I mean, I'm not that far through Ashita no Joe, and I haven't read the manga, but from what I've watched of it so far, it's very different to what we would consider a sports series today, because it's, well, certainly, like the first 10 episodes, barely any boxing happens.
Yeah, it is very much a different kind of show.
It's homeless antics with the orphan kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, with this show, I'm curious how Madhouse will keep the animation quality consistent. They haven't done anything big this year, I think.
What have they done this year?
I think so.
I'm actually trying to remember what they've done.
Looking at Mel right now, I think, what's this, Alderamin, they did that.
That's right.
Is that was Madhouse? Oh.
Yeah.
I've not seen it. I don't actually know what that one is.
Yeah, me neither.
I've tried to watch episode 1. It was not at all my thing. I think it was a light novel adaptation or something, and that's
says so. So basically, they would have their entire focus on All Out. The only other thing they're working on is One Punch Man second season.
Well, actually, next season they have their big, was it Studio Bones collaboration? What's it called? Aka? I forget.
What's that? I haven't heard about that one.
Hang on, I'll see if I can find that out.
Oh, Madhouse had Prince of Stride in winter. I don't know if anyone watched that. That was another sports one.
I saw the first episode of that. It was very fluid motion, but aside from that, there wasn't much to it.
Yeah, because it was based on an otome game, meaning like games for girls where you have a lot of guys. I think it wasn't like specifically sports. It was more like visual novel adaptation, but with very pretty visuals. I remember like watching 3 episodes. It looked good, but the story wasn't exactly that for me.
It had a weird caliber. Yeah, here we go. Aka 13 KU is the I believe it's the Madhouse Bones collaboration. I could be talking out my ass. People were talking about this in Discord a couple of weeks back now.
Oh, right. I hadn't heard of it. No, so this year so far they've only had in winter they had Princess Stride. In summer they had that one you mentioned. They didn't have anything in spring. So this is probably their biggest one of the year.
And I remember that hype around All Out started very early. Like I followed the Twitter account of All Out for quite a long time. They were building hype for a long time. So this is a big thing for them.
Well, I hope it goes well.
Is the manga doing well in Japan?
I think yes. I think it's about 10 volumes now. And I think it's selling quite well.
No, rugby's had a big boost in Japan recently because Japan's shot up on the world rankings. I think they're number 10 or 11 in the world, and they're hosting the next Rugby World Cup and all that. So, yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Now'd be a good time to push the sales for it.
Do you want to move on to Drifters?
Oh yeah, of course. We have like three series left. So, Drifters. That was by the same mangaka as Hellsing Ultimate, or well, Hellsing. And why it garnered my interest, it was because it is directed by, where are my notes? Kenichi Suzuki, who is the director of the JoJo anime adaptation by David Productions.
Right. I didn't know that. That's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think JoJo has like 2 directors. The other one is still working on part 4.
Right.
And this one moved to Drifters.
Yeah, if I see it correctly, he only did the first series, meaning the one with part 1 and 2, and then only did a few storyboards and a few episodes in Stardust Crusaders.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, I think he gave the torch to someone else.
I wonder about the studio, because it's a new one. They established only for Drifters. It's called Drifters something.
Right.
If it is maybe a David Production offshoot or something, I don't know.
Would make sense.
Quite possibly.
Well, it's like how Shuka was started just on the premise of pumping out Durarara.
Yeah.
You know, its animated adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder because they have Drifters in their name, if they're just gonna do that or they're gonna continue doing other stuff. I don't know.
Maybe.
Good question.
So, what did you think of Drifters? I've only watched the first episode. So.
I watched the first 2. How about you guys?
I saw
the first one,
and then I've watched the first 2 episodes, which is just basically what the OVA covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did anyone read the manga?
No.
Nope.
I've avoided that so far. Kind of want to just watch this first.
Yeah. So if I can start about this, let's just put it out this. I am torn, like really, really torn, because on one hand it has fantastic animation. I love the color palette of it. The OP and ED are great, especially the OP, because it is animated by one guy alone, who is French, and I have a huge, huge weakness for French animation. But on the other hand, I am not really enjoying the content of Drifters here, but I think that is due to the adaptation that is and the style of the mangaka, because I am having problems with these tonal shifts of having super violent, smashy, bloody things, and then going into a complete art style break of funny sketch comedy. For me, it destroys the atmosphere. So. But that was also my problem in Hellsing Ultimate. So, yeah. I think I will continue watching it because it looks amazing. But so far, the story and characters are not that much my thing. Like, it's again the same as Hellsing Ultimate. It's just super OP guys who wreck shit. And that's it.
Yeah, I like the first half where it was a bit more serious. The second is just a humor, and it's not that good.
Yeah. It's something to sort of turn off for me. Like, it's the end of a long week, or it's a Friday night or whatever. I'll put on the new episode of Drifters and just chill out with that. Bit of mindless score. The comedy I can just sort of blow past me. It's definitely a problem in the series as a whole to me. It's not something where I can be like, hey, this series, every part of it works. The tones mesh perfectly, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think the same as Eleanor. I can look past it because of like the action is so well directed and it's presented so damn well. It's the same. It's got the really really good punch and it's so creative at times and it's just really enjoyable at those points.
Yeah, I'll probably watch it till the end just because it's such a light watch. So you don't have to think about watching it, or even just focus on it.
It's also got like the added bonus of if you like me and are really into history, there's a few little like characters sprinkled through, so you can be like, oh yeah, there's that's cool. It adds no overall value. It's just a fun little thing to be able to sort of do in your head.
Yeah, probably for those who haven't seen it, we should probably point out the story of it. It's, I think, so as far as I can judge, when some famous warriors or people die, they get sent into some sort of fantasy world where they all gather, and then you have a best of warriors of history who just, fight. I have to agree with you, Tom. I was quite chuffed about one series, one single moment, which was two, I think, generals fighting. This one from Rome and one from Carthago.
Oh yes, you've got Scipio Africanus and Hannibal, except they're fighting
exactly
side by side this time, and that's kind of interesting as an idea through history. As you go back, it's one of the most famous military campaigns, the Second Punic War, and it's sort of how deep they'll go into that. I don't know. Anyone, just a quick side note, anyone who's interested about reading about the Second Punic War, there is currently a manga adapting it in its entirety. It's only partway through at the moment. It's called Ad Astra, Hannibal to Scipio, and it's a really good look into just the characters and the situations around the war, not just the fighting, but also the political stuff and how Scipio came to learn just by watching Hannibal and so on, that stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah, I've been interested in that too because one of my childhood friends and ex-roommates who was living together like a few years studied Latin and history at university, and I was like fact-checking him on the Punic Wars, and this is how I learned about it as well. So yeah, it could be interesting. Like, nice.
I have to admit, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to the story when I was watching it. But from gathering from what you just said, it's kind of like Fate in that way, that it's lots of, although Fate's they're not actually the historical figures, but they're, however you want to put it. I'm not too up to date on Fate. Interpretations, yeah, that's the best way to put it. So you got lots of mythical and historical figures coming together fighting. So it may be good to watch to see something like that, but I'll definitely check it out maybe later in the season to see how it's going.
I think so far, I think we can all agree we will watch it, but probably not for the story.
No, not really, no.
I think it's also pretty interesting that it's very violent and also uncensored, which is something I haven't noticed in a lot of anime lately. Like, they don't tend to be this gory anymore, and if they are, it's only on the Blu-ray releases.
No. Or even with like JoJo, things like Jotaro smoking are censored in TV versions.
Yeah, and the violence too inside in part 1 and 2 is like heavily censored in TV.
Yeah, so we can enjoy our uncensored violence in this case. Hooray for that.
It's like one of those old 80s OVA.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, yes it does. Which is a lot of spectacle and very artful dismemberment of people.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we can all agree on Drifters. Should we move on to Tiger Mask W?
Yeah.
I think that would make a good segue, actually, from the idea of being an 80s OVA for Tiger Mask.
Oh, yeah.
Because visually, Tiger Mask, aside from like the bits of CG, visually, Tiger Mask feels like an 80s show.
Oh, definitely.
And it makes it so enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, because Alistair, you had prepared something for us.
Yes, I got oddly fascinated in Tiger Mask because I've heard about it for years. People mentioning, it's incredibly influential. And because there was a series in the 60s, in 68, The manga started in 68, and then the first adaptation was in 69. It's 105 episodes, but only 3 of them are subbed. Anywhere, like you browse all the torrent sites, and you can only find, unless you speak Italian, there are only 3 episodes that you can watch of the original, and they're not great subs, as you probably saw when I posted screenshots.
Yeah, a lot of words in brackets, which makes it.
I'm pretty sure it was done by one guy, and by the end of the 3rd episode he gave up because they. But the original is very different to Tiger Mask W, and from doing my research, I can assume that it's a follow-on Tiger Mask W, because the original follows this one guy who's, I don't know how much you guys know about wrestling and professional wrestling in general, but
interested.
Character of Tiger Mask, he's what's known as a heel, which is essentially a villain in the overarching narrative of whatever stories are going on in the wrestling. And he moves to the side of good to fight an evil organization who are raising orphans to be evil wrestlers, which is a pretty cool plot. So in the 80s, the wrestling company New Japan Pro Wrestling licensed the character to introduce a real-life Tiger Mask into the pro wrestling circuit. And the idea was so popular that up to this day, 5 people have taken up the mask.
Nice.
So in 83, you had the original guy, Satoru Sayama, who eventually left because of disagreements backstage, where he wasn't really a big fan of the politics that go on behind, and how if the writers decide that your character is going to be defeated, you're essentially out for that tournament. Which is a weird way, because it's very odd pro wrestling. If you want to get a good grounding for it, there's an episode of the Only Stupid Answers podcast with the comedian Mike Falzone, who goes into lots of detail in wrestling in general, how the stories over the years have changed, and wrestling in general, how characters and stories can be really weird at times, and it's not really how you initially think of it. But so it's quite campy. The storylines that you get in the original wrestling days, because you've got his not arch nemesis, so to say, was a wrestler called Black Tiger, who I think he's known as Tiger the Dark or something in the new adaptation.
Yeah. The English is fantastic in Tiger Mask.
Very sure. And before he left, he'd won 2 of the most prestigious wrestling titles in the world, including one in the WWF. And the following Tiger Mask, there's some really quite compelling stories. The second guy who ran for quite a while, he was about 6 years. He was unsuccessful to win any titles, but in his final match in 1990, he gave up the mask to fight as himself, which is pretty cool. And some of the villains across the years, so the 3rd Tiger Mask had this villain called Thunder Liger, whose costume was something out of like a Super Sentai show.
Oh, I think you posted pictures of this earlier.
Yeah.
And then tying into the narratives, you've got the 4th one, who was then trained by the original Tiger Mask, and it gets really weird because he's currently still Tiger Mask, even though there are 2 Tiger Masks who have followed him. There's one in 2010 for like a one-off match, and then currently the one that's spawned this new adaptation is Kota Ibushi, who is known as Tiger Mask W. And this adaptation, or this series, is all a tie into this event called King of Pro Wrestling, where Tiger Mask defeated a character who we actually got mentioned. I don't know. I think it was definitely in the third episode mentioned, called Red Death Mask.
Oh yeah, he got introduced in episode 3.
And he defeated him, and then that was the end of his story for that tournament. But apparently he's going to come back in 2017. So what I'm wondering is, because this adaptation of Tiger Mask is going to be like 40 episodes. So
I know it is going to be fairly long.
Yeah.
From what I saw, there's
so
a
I'm
pretty hefty
assuming
episode count.
it's going long enough to then tie in with the next tournament, whenever that is.
Yeah, but it is cool, even knowing now all of this background information, that you can jump into Tiger Mask W as fresh as you can.
It's very different.
It is a standalone.
It's it's very different, especially to the original. The original is like the story you wouldn't need to have known it. Like episode 3 pretty much goes over a lot of the backstory, so you can jump into it into Tiger Mask W without worrying about anything. It's quite nice though if you've looked back in the history and see all the little nuances that Tiger Mask W is included.
Yeah, it's very much a generations thing that we now have the new one appearing. Yeah, because we can talk about the anime itself now, knowing that we have like a great background information now. I like about it that the fighting is supposed to be real. Like it is not performance based, meaning that people get hurt and will probably also die in the ring.
Yeah,
like fighting in the anime is perceived as real, and that is great.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And the examples of like the shady backstage stuff in the third episode with was it Black Tiger's dad? I can't remember really. His him being injured in the ring, and it was all being like, oh, it doesn't matter, these things happen. Despite him being paralysed.
He's in a wheelchair now, but it happens.
The series is set in this weird alternate universe where wrestling is the most serious thing in the world.
And it is beautiful to behold.
Yeah.
What I like about it is that despite this realness, there's still this very positive, over-the-top feeling about it. I had one wonderful moment in episode 3 was the training montage, where Tiger Mask does weightlifting, but also being in a gigantic hamster wheel. And spinning like 360 degrees around while doing weightlifting.
It makes no sense, but it's beautiful.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah. In the first episode, he casually kills a bear in like 5 seconds.
He kicks a bear to the face while being bounced.
And then like his teacher arrives and basically mentions that that's a regular thing for him.
Yeah.
Like he just kills bears every other week or something. I mean, how can you not love it?
It's great.
Yeah. No.
And climbing mountains. Yeah. I completely forgot. You want to be a wrestler, you go climb that mountain.
Yeah.
Naked, with on your pants, in the snow.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried for a start with the show, because the first episode, everything happened at like this breakneck pace, and it felt a little too quick for my taste. But yeah, second episode I think definitely sold me. It's very enjoyable, very well choreographed as well. Show about the wrestling.
Yeah, I've only seen the first one, but I'll try to catch up after the podcast. Sounds very good.
Yes, it is. For me, it was the same as well. The first episode was a sort of, okay, let's watch this. But the second and third one just really nailed it.
But I think it's very important that it stays being this quite mixture of campy and super serious. Because in essence, it's a wrestling storyline come to life. And as if...
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's definitely going to be a merit to it if it can keep that up, because that's just the nature of wrestling storylines. So I don't want it to be too grounded. I want it to be quite ridiculous. And certainly from what it's shown, it's gonna be that.
Yes. And what's also very cool is that it also keeps the art style of the Ocho. It has, if I remember correctly, I saw one of the one of the studios on Twitter showing a picture that they have specific filters for putting over the anime to make the pencil lines like more, we could say, scruffy.
Okay.
To keep the style of the 70s. So they did that with intention to have sort of dirtier outline.
It definitely works in the show's favor.
Especially in the fight scenes where you can have like more expressive art. Like the fight scenes are, what I find very cool, they are slow. Like it's not super fast in that regard, that you have like people punching at ora speed. But it has this sort of wrestling feeling to it. You can see every grip, every throw, and it does that magnificently. I like it very much.
It certainly is brutal as the 60s, 70s one. Because in the beginning, obviously, of the 60s one, Tiger Mask is a villain. But, he's an anti-hero, I guess, because there's definitely like these evil organizations that you hear of, so you know he's not the villain as such, but he is a massive knob. Like, he is not a nice guy at all. Like,
you had the screenshot of him like holding up the child. Do you want me to break him?
This fan of his runs in. This orphan fan runs in, and Tiger Mask just picks him up and just yells like, "Shall I break him?" And like, he's not a nice guy at all, but that you show him defeating people who are so-say villains. That's why it makes me sad that I can't watch any more of it in English. So maybe with this adaptation someone might pick it up, but I doubt it. It's probably lost.
Yeah, get on that Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll, please do it.
We need the old Tiger Mask.
It's probably lost for the ages. It's the same with the old Cyborg 009. Never gonna watch it. We're just never gonna, because no one will do it unless some big history nut comes along and thinks, right, well, this is a piece of history. We need to restore it. We're never gonna see it. But no, I'm happy. I need to check out the one that came out in the 80s and see what that's like. But even then, that's only like 19 episodes of the 33 that are translated, so I can't get the full experience, but it'll be a bit better.
And while you mentioned the old series, what is cool that the OP of the new Tiger Mask W is a remake of the iconic 70s.
Oh yeah, I have a soft spot for that, like with Space Battleship Yamato, how that adaptation has like multiple different versions of the old OP. It's very nice. And
it really underlines this campiness now in dubstep remix, and it feels great. As well as the ED, which is an original
I like the ED.
Which is like a super pumping up King of the Wild. If you haven't seen the Tiger Mask W ED and you have no intention of watching it, at least watch the ED. It is great.
I don't think that the OP wasn't in the first episode, right? Because
I can't remember.
Really recall.
Don't know.
Yeah.
It's a very short OP, so it's
it's only like about a minute.
You miss it kind of situation.
But I remember that at least it was, I think, in the second and the third one for 100%.
Yeah.
So we can conclude Tiger Mask W, camp over the top wrestling fun. We are having a blast.
Good times abound.
Yeah, and we can, I think, move on to the last one, which is not strictly a manly series, but sports nonetheless, and that is Yuri on Ice.
Yeah. I suppose last podcast I was talking this up a bit, and I'm glad to see that it's come through. It's a very solid show. I feel like a few people might be overstating it after 2 episodes, but it's still very good for what it is.
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous. It's just so fluid, and the lighting and everything is so well thought out for it. And like they've gotten professional ice skaters to come and design routines for these characters to perform as well. So there's
it also has a very famous director behind it. I've forgotten her name, but she was also the one who did the Lupin III, a woman called Fujiko Mine, which was also very artful.
Right.
Which I've
Is it Mario Kart?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh wow.
Nice. It's Sayo Yamamoto.
Yeah, I was about to say it doesn't sound right.
Mario Kart is the writer.
Right.
Yeah, because I know Mario Kata did. I think the writing for A Woman Called Fujiko Mine. I think she did some directing.
Okay, yeah. But overall, we have a really good cast behind it, and it shows. Especially, I think in episode 1 we were talking about Studio Mappa and like how we like them, and I think they are really showing their craft here with Yuri on Ice.
Oh, definitely. And this is at the same time they're still doing Days, which is pretty impressive, to be honest.
Oh, they're running at the same time. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Days is on. It's still running her through to this season, I believe.
Well, that is impressive. Because so far for Mappa, I had only seen the first, I think, 5 or 6 episodes from the new Ushio to Tora, and I was very much blown away by just the amount of character animation that they have. There's so many like quiet subtleties to all their expressions that it just has this consistent high level of animation. It doesn't have, it has standout scenes as well, but just let's say the normal stuff still looks amazing, and that I found very impressive.
Yeah, it's like with probably my favorite thing that they've done, which is Kids on the Slope. There's a lot of very much subtlety in the movements and stuff like that, and then while you can get in the far more impressive scenes of people playing music and how refined and precise the movements are there, it does have a lot of subtlety outside of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mappa's new thing, Yuri on Ice. What did you all think about it? Now that 2 episodes are out.
I really like it. One, I really like its style and finesse of the skating scenes and specifically like the OP and that kind of stuff. But also, I like how it's given a good grounding to the main character's story and how his motives, his experiences in ice skating, that kind of thing. I really enjoyed it, and it's probably one of the few sports series that's really impressed me on its first episode a lot. Generally, it takes me a little bit longer to get going with sports series like Tiger Mask, for example, and even All Out. But I think one of the things I really like about it, specifically the sport, is that it's quite an artistic sport. It's not a team sport, and even like if you think of something like the boxing series or Baby Steps, it's a lot of it is based on artistic value in the sport, not just skill and ability. So it's just a bit of a breath of fresh air, maybe. I'm trying to think if there's anything like that, anything based on like a sport like that out already, but I can't think of anything at the moment.
Yeah, just now that you mentioned it, I think it is so far the only sports series that also is based upon aesthetics. Like it is not only team and power and shit, but it has to look good, and it does.
Yeah, the backgrounds are really nice in the show. Very colorful. The onsen, I think, looks very lived in. It's super nice.
Like, oh yeah, the where Yuri, the Japanese one, lives.
Yeah.
I noticed that as well. That is like super cool setting.
Yeah, also like one thing that surprised me about the show is that it's really heavy on the comedy. And really heavy on the sort of like making the characters very cartoon, super deformed. Which is what confused me about the first episode is the main character Yuri actually fat, or is it just drawn that way?
In the second episode, you still can't tell until the point where, like, yeah, no, he's fit again. They tell you, and it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, okay. I can't make it out if it's just for the joke or if it's actually like, I don't know.
Yeah, I noticed that as well because from the PVs and trailers that we saw, I thought this was going to be a very serious drama.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting a comedy.
And then the first episode happened, and then we had again tonal shifts and just chibi slide-ins of that is me. This is how I got here. Which took me out for a second, but I think the tonal shifts are not as jarring as they were in Drifters, because I think this is just how the story
they
is
clearly
told.
defined it. So, like, first episode, quite early on, really, they defined there are going to be comedy moments in this, and I think that's going to be better for the series going on, so we know to expect it.
Yes.
It depends where they're implemented. Like, as an example, Your Lie in April, a couple of years ago, I didn't feel like the comedy scenes in that, they were put in at awkward moments that felt jarring. If they're put in good places, they'll be fine.
Yeah, and I feel like what Yuri on Ice could work towards to work alongside that sort of cut and comedy aesthetic would be that possible like sort of rival friendship kind of growth between the two Yuris. Because then it can sort of allows for scenes of headbutting and laughter, and then perhaps an eventual friendship or something like that, and it never has to be too heavy. Because if it starts to get really heavy and the comedy stays, it's iffy as to how well it's actually going to work.
Yeah, there's like one major serious moment in the first episode is the solo part of Yuri skating.
Yes, yeah.
And that was done very well. So I mean, it shows promise.
Now that you mention it, I think that was the problem of Battery last season, which was just serious emotional drama. And I think it felt a bit tiring. Well, I sort of put it on hold, or just put it over there after like 2 or 3 episodes. But I think Yuri on Ice is doing very well right now.
Battery was the baseball one that was adapted from a novel.
Yeah,
it was about. Trying to remember what I think it was Joe was telling me the other day. It was based on growing up gay in Japan. I think was like the message about it.
The author has done not yaoi stuff, but shonen ai, meaning like focusing on romance and featuring gay characters. Which was, I think, also I think she's female in her previous work, number 6, which was sci-fi dystopia with sort of gay hinted at characters. Which was by Studio Bones, a really good adaptation. I saw the first episode, was blown away. Should continue.
I'll get to that. Just going back to what I was saying about individualistic sports, so like with skating, you can, using that as a base, you've got a lot of potential for individual character, both expansion and development in how they approach their sport, how they handle with loss, realizing they're not good enough, or that maybe they are better than they think they are, which is something I personally really love. It's in Ashita no Joe, it's in Ping Pong, it's scattered throughout Baby Steps. It's something I really appreciate, especially, and I think you do lose it in a team sports, because the theme of that is generally teamwork. It doesn't matter, like you said, it doesn't matter what your skill is. If you work hard, you can achieve it. And there's definitely a lot more focus on group dynamic in that. Whereas if you've got an individual sport, it's focusing on one, or maybe not one character, but various characters and their own personal mindset, which is...
Yeah, I feel like shows that focus on more personal, singular activities are able to have that sort of personal, introspective side to them.
Yeah.
Which is, like you said, a nice change from the sort of team sports shows, and allows a show to feel more of its sort of own thing, where you can have your character be whatever they are, and you can set their struggles and their sort of what they're good at in different places, and work it from there.
Yeah, end of episode 2, there's a really great cliffhanger, which is the trainer saying that he has like 2 arrangements of the same piece, for them to train to, which is one is as I said, is about a passionate love, the other one about pure love, and he assigns these pieces to the other one, like not the one you would expect.
Yeah.
So the
really like
hothead has to do a pure, like very soft performance, and the shy, not coming to terms, has to do a passionate one, and that is something really, really interesting. Like I am quite intrigued how that is going to turn out.
Yeah, which again is what I was saying about focusing on personal, individual characters. Is that if with that switch up of dynamic, we're going to see how both of them approach this new or something that's a bit alien to them in terms of how they may approach their sport or their art. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. It's definitely my favourite of the season, I think. Certainly the ones we've talked about, although Tiger SW is definitely going to be going up there. But
yeah, it's either camp or autistic, one of the two.
I don't know, is it an original series or is it based off like a novel? I don't actually know.
I feel it's original, but I could just be talking
I think it's original.
Because
Yeah.
it'll be interesting how it's approached then. Because that gives them a lot more freedom. They can do mostly what they want with characters, and they can really, if they want to, explore the mindsets to a good extent. Not that you can't do that, obviously, with an adaptation. If you take, bringing up Ping Pong again, Yuasa's adaptation of Matsumoto's manga, like, Yuasa goes into ridiculous amount of detail into character mindsets, and hence why I love it so much. It's just ridiculous. So I'm hoping maybe not something to that degree from Yuri on Ice, but certainly I'm hoping for things. Hoping for it to go the way I'd like it to, but I'll be interested to see what method, what route they take.
Yes, I think it still has like this wonderful potential and outlook of being not only aesthetically pleasing and having really amazing animation, but also having emotional drama that doesn't feel forced in any way. Like it is now already arranging the pieces that you can see. Oh, this is going to be an interesting conflict later along the way. So, yeah, Yuri on Ice is another like really strong one. And I think I got disconnected. Wait a second.
No, I feel like you're still here. Or not?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Everything good?
Okay.
I'm back. Nope.
So do you want to go over like the other little series then? If there's anything you want to mention about other shows?
Yeah, what about Keijo? Did anyone watch that?
I watched the first episode.
I wanted to watch Keijo, but I promised I'd watch it with a friend, so I'm holding off.
I can't say I really like Keijo.
Yeah, I don't really like it either. I think I'll probably do another episode or two, but I don't think the joke is that funny to sustain itself for the entire series. And other than that, it's just like in every fourth series, but with, well, asses.
Yeah, outside of its like gimmick, I really just couldn't get engaged with anything else, if I'm honest.
Well, I had a special case with Keijo in that I really, really enjoyed the first episode, but then the second one just fell really fast. The first one I really enjoyed because it took itself so serious in such a manner that this is a sport that exists in this world, and it is something that women strive at. And for example, even in the aesthetic level, I really liked that all the girls had different builds. Like you had sort of course, the sort of a bit more flat ones, then the more curvy ones, but a character who I really liked was a really sort of tall, buff girl who was like just really happy to be there. And I said, I already like you. And then the little get-together with like the four girls who have to share a dorm, which I think was a great character moment. But then, so episode 1, really liked it, great outlook, but then episode 2 happened, and then it just became like really slow sports tropes and sort of not even slice of lifey, but nothing happening. Of we have to team has to grow together, and Ooh, a beach episode. Okay, so
beach episode in this
How can they
anime seems really
I
unnecessary.
don't know what the appeal of a beach episode would be in a series with this concept.
Every episode is a beach episode.
yeah, they all have swimsuits all the time. Yeah, so they were on the beach and had to play volleyball with their butts, which is some sort of training.
Fair enough.
Whatever. Yeah, sort of. It lost a bit for me there. I think I'm still on board for all the hype things that happen, but if it continues to be such a drag between those hype episodes, I think I will just drop it and let it there.
Yeah. I think I would have enjoyed it more if, obviously this is completely impossible for it to have happened, but a bit more like Yuasa's Kick Heart, which is just short film. It's got its gimmick, and I think it would work a lot better like that, because then you've got the gimmick, the whole package is that gimmick. But hey, I'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll pick it up later on if I hear surprisingly good things, but we'll see.
And on an added note, the first high school that the team in All Out plays against is Keijo High School.
Oh wow.
So that was a great moment in episode 2. Like the next enemy we face is Keijo High School. And like, oh goodness, this is going to be the duel of the century, because our guys in All Out are quite built as well.
So
they need to introduce a male division in Keijo.
Yes,
that would be a change
of
pace.
Equality here, people.
Yeah.
Male bots as well. So, yeah, imagine Keijo, the male division. Fantastic. Because that would actually make sense to have chest-to-chest attacks. Because there's actually muscle there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was interrupting.
That's right. So you mentioned 2 other series that you were interested in at the beginning of it.
2 ones that I was also interested in. One I was interested in was Nanbaka, but only due to the fact that it was described to me as a mix of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Prison School, which sounded great, but I think it is a bit too teenagey, one could say, or sort of very meta jokes, very fast in that regard.
What's that one actually about? Like, I know nothing about.
Is it like a prison escape or something like that?
Yeah.
Exactly, I think it's a prison escape of the most, most security prison that exists in the world, which is an island. And there are 4 criminals in one room who want to break out, and so far they have broken out of every prison imaginable, and now they meet their equal, and sort of, if I understand correctly, I haven't seen episode 2, is just the guards versus the guys and how they try to break out or not.
Well, that could be interesting if done well.
I mean, I got about halfway through the first episode, and I just sat in front of my computer screen. I had a cup of tea there, and I was just stoic-faced. Like, nothing about it was doing for me. There was no jokes that I was laughing at. There was no bits I was like, oh, wow, or whatever, and I was just bored.
No, again, I'll see how it goes, because breaking out of prison's a really good concept that I like. One of my favourite TV shows is Prison Break, certainly the first season. Shows like...
That's the one. The Clint Eastwood movie, what's the name? Where he breaks out of Alcatraz.
Escape from Alcatraz, I think is it just that?
Yeah, probably. That one's good.
Like... Shawshank Redemption, things like Rainbow, all these shows where there is a prison break, but the prison break means something. There is a reason to get out. I don't know if they've gone into detail of why they want to break out other than just breaking out.
They want to break out so they can say they broke out.
Okay. Yeah. Like, I mean, if it goes like the route of something like Prison Break, where it's high tension, their plans, much like something like Keijo, are flipped over, so what you think will be really easy turns out is not at all, and you're left with really intense scenes where characters just miss out on being caught, or they just miss out on escaping. If it went something like that, I'd be interested. I don't know if it is, because I haven't seen it, but
it's shaping up to be a far more comedic show.
If I could,
anything else,
yeah, it is more comedic.
What were the escape attempts like? What were, in general, like, I don't know, what were their methods of escaping, if that's the best way to put it?
It was one, and it was just following a corridor. And, here's generic prison escape blocking thing. Number 125 will just get out of that with this handy technique. And then just on to the next one.
See, no, I couldn't get into that.
It's just like...
No, it is, and every character has like a specific skill to use, and one of them is that he can hack everything at intense speed. So you have like this one corridor which is like full of laser grids, but you cannot see them. Just I think they blow smoke or something for once, and then it's okay. Now we have to walk through, and everybody does this really intricate dance around it, and then just the fourth guy just walks through, and I think, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, I already hacked it. Yeah, you could have said something. Sorry. So there was just a notepad on the wall, and he just, I think, pressed the button. And that was it.
So it's not quite Shawshank Redemption crawling through miles of sewage tunnel.
No, really not.
No.
Yeah, and there's just because I finished episode 1. In the end, there's just a gigantic door that has so many locks on it. I think a fingerprint, a voice recognition, then even more silly things. And then hacker guy walks up to it, like puts his hand on it, and there's a cut to a different perspective, and it says, "Oh, I hacked it," and then it's open. and then they ask, how did you do this? Is that it works? So okay, like this is the kind of comedy you have to expect from this series.
That seems kind of anti-Semitic.
It does,
Yes.
yeah. And what was the other one? Was it Hero something you said?
To Be Hero, which came completely out of nowhere for me. And so far, I think the best description I have seen of it is that it's some mixture, or let's say like Trigger's little sister.
That's nice.
Yeah, it is I think it's not that long. It's like 10 minutes per episode. But it's like every superhero trope put on its head again in a new way. But so far I have only seen one episode. Sure. Like, is a normal father who I think comes home at night, and his daughter is angry at him for just flirting around with women in bars. And then he sits on the toilet and then gets sucked in by the toilet with a Super Mario sound. And then he's inside the toilet, and then he gets superpowers, but unfortunately, his superhero form is like a fat, balding guy.
Yeah, I've had this show recommended to me a couple of times, so I might check it out soon.
Yeah, so...
it's
on Crunchyroll, right?
Silly humor. It is on Crunchyroll, I think.
Okay.
Episode 1, funny, liked it, but also because of the great animation that it has for a show like this. So, as again, I've only seen episode 1, but could be promising.
So I guess maybe to end it off, what maybe your favourites, or what series do you think will be the most promising for you? Not just manly shows, but in general.
About the whole season, we have a lot of really aesthetically pleasing shows this season, which is first of all is Flip Flappers, which is such a very whimsical, beautiful show that has a lot of mystery around it. So I think Flip Flappers is very up there for me. I think on a personal level, All Out, for me at least, because I found it very relatable and I like the cast. I like Tiger Mask W just for the weekly dose of camp that one needs. And Yuri on Ice for looking very promising and having a great, wonderful OP that I really liked, and having like these performances that just look amazing. So I think these would be my three, or four. How many did I said? Flip Flippers, All Out, Tiger Mask W, Yuri on Ice would be mine.
I think Yuri on Ice as well. Tiger Mask W definitely. I'm really interested to see where 3 Gatsu goes.
Yeah.
Mainly because I've heard lots of stuff about the manga, which I meant to check out, but I never got around to. But I'm really interested to see where that goes. I'm not generally a big fan of Shaft's aesthetic, but they seem to be doing quite a good job with it from what I've seen. Other than that, I'm not watching Flip Flappers yet. I think I'm going to leave it till it's over and then just watch it all in one go. Definitely looks like something I enjoy. And then, obviously, All Out, if it goes the way I hope it will be quite a fun show. So, yeah.
Tom, Boris?
Yeah, I think the most promising thing for me so far this season is Trigatsu. It's really well directed. I do like its aesthetic. I'm probably a bit more of a Shaft fanboy at times, not completely. So I don't know if that's biasing me or anything, but I do think so far the story and everything within it's really strong. Aside from that, yeah, definitely Yuri on Ice and Tiger Mask W. I think they're really enjoyable. All Out, I'll have to see how it goes. It's a long series, so there's still a lot to see from it so far. I like Girlish Number to an extent. It's oddly cynical, and I find that kind of enjoyable. It's I know it's just so weird. It's a very cute girl show, but it's very cynical. And aside from that, everything else is just kind of so far. I'll probably end up watching more rugby matches as the season goes on. So yeah.
As for me, I think like this season has a lot of stuff that looks promising, but nothing that I love quite yet. But I've only watched like first episodes of stuff. Favorites could be maybe Flip Flappers, and I don't know. I guess we'll see how the Gundam season goes. The new one, second season of Iron Blooded Orphans.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And also one that I like to mention is Nobunaga no Shinobi, which is like a really short 3 minutes comedy thing. It's super cute. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. What I also forgot to mention when we are talking about sports series is that Haikyuu is in its third season, and if you like Haikyuu or have seen it, third season so far is magnificent and having probably one of the best OPs of the season. So Haikyuu really good.
Yeah, I need to watch that one soon. I still haven't even seen the first season.
Yeah, me neither.
Same. It's been on my list for a long time.
Yeah, like I only hear good things about it.
As it is really
and
good.
It has, like the same composer that did Ramen Bull Fighters, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a very good soundtrack, actually.
Oh, the music is splendid in Haikyuu.
He seems to be very good at hype music, and that's a thing in sports anime.
And from a personal side, what I've completely forgotten, anime of the season, anime of the century, 10 out of 10, Gakuen Handsome.
I watched 2 episodes of that. I might pick it up later when it finishes. I feel it's like going for the same thing or a similar thing like Inferno Code, where the shitty animation is part of the joke, but it doesn't quite have the same manic energy of Inferno Code when it's just there. So I don't know. I guess I'll try it again once it finishes. I mean, it's really short, so whatever.
the animation loops back around from being so terrible that it becomes
I don't
amazing
know if
again.
they're actually trying
so
on purpose to make it look bad, or if they just don't have any good animators. I don't know.
Are they adapting it from something, or?
Yes, it was already, I think, a parody or a specifically bad visual novel of an all-boys high school, which is, of course, the handsome school, but the thing is, none of the characters look handsome. So it just becomes a parody of genre tropes that just also... that you don't even have the visuals to hang on to. Just everything
reminds
me
of if Fukumoto got his dream of being a shoujo mangaka. That's what it reminds me.
Yeah. Like the teacher could straight up be Akagi. It's just from the visuals alone. Which is the same super spiky chin with short grey hair.
Oh god, I have to quote you on that, Alistair. That's actually brilliant.
It is. Oh. I'll have to give it a watch. Just
if you haven't, Gakuen Handsome, it's on Crunchyroll as well. It's like 3 episodes, 3 minutes an episode. But I am just having a blast with it. So 10 out of 10, anime of the season. The end.
Gakuen Handsome wins. Great podcast, you know. Fuck everything but Gakuen Handsome.
Why did we waste all this time discussing the other series?
Yeah, we could have finished this in just 1 minute. Go watch Gakuen Handsome, the end.
Sorry for wasting an hour of your time, guys. Everyone watched, you know.
Yeah, so I think we can also round up this this lovely podcast of fall 2016.
Yeah, I think there's not much else to be said.
no.
Yeah.
So this has been GARcast. We have been or there was Alistair.
Bye.
There was Tom.
Take care.
And Boris.
Later.
And myself, Eleanor. So have a wonderful day. Enjoy the season. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.